Okay, everyone, so this video is now going to walk you through how to create media queries for a responsive site. So the responsive that I keep talking about is when you view something on a tablet or view it on a mobile device, you want to make sure that when the window closes up to that size, so in other words, a tablet is somewhere around 700, 900 maybe pixels, depending on the tablet, or a phone can be all the way down to below 400 pixels, that you don't want people having to scroll around through this whole thing. If I close this window up, and I'm going to have you go in and do your site, new site in a second here, but see, if I close this window up, well, I can't see anything. If I'm on a phone that's say 400 pixels right here and I close this up, well, I have to scroll over here to get any of this other information, and that's not really very user friendly, right? So what we do is we go in and we write what we call media queries in order to make sure that each one of these elements, so if you have a main in here, a section, or you've got a sidebar, whatever, that you go in and you actually have to change the properties on that compared to what you already have in order for it to kind of view correctly. So right now what I have open is this 16 index.html. And if everybody would just go in and get the folder that I'm giving you, I uploaded them to your Blackboard, and then as well, and I'll send out an email telling you where it is. But it's in Blackboard. I'm going to try and email you this file, but I don't know what's going on with Blackboard over the weekend here, but for some reason that's not working. So anyway, we'll see. I'll get the files to you either way. If I have to send them to Paul or something, I'll do that. But what I did to start here, and you guys can start this, is just go up to your site, new site, and then name it like you've been doing. You can name it responsive or something like that. Whatever you want to name it, and then go ahead and click on the folder icon here, and you want to navigate to that classroom responsive files, which is the actual file that I'm going to be giving you. And inside there, which is kind of where I'm at here, it's the same folder. I'm just using this so that I'm not overwriting the file that I'm giving you guys. Inside that folder is media queries. So I need everybody to click on that. And then this media queries folder is actually going to be what you define as your site. And that's the file we're going to use. I'm not going to say choose because I don't want to overwrite and have a conflict here, because I already have it here all set up. So on my end, I'm just going to say cancel. But for you guys, go ahead and say choose. And then once you're in there, go ahead and double click in your files panel there and open up the 16 index.html. All right, once you have that done now, what you're going to have here is this file. These are kind of the hovers are already set up for you, but I'm going to walk you through that, where they are and how they got there, where that's located. But you guys at this stage of the game should probably have a hover on yours. So you should know that that's a:hover, and you set that up in your CSS rules, But I'll show you where that is and how this is currently functioning. We have, as you roll over, it changes the colors like this, and you have your home, about us, and so on. If I scroll down here a little bit to show you the code, and again, I'm pretty much talking about right now just kind of this navigation menu. So here's the code for that. You've got an opening nav tag, you have your opening UL, then you have a list. Here's your href. This would, of course, be, if you think about it, it would be linked to your index.html, right? I'll go ahead and put that in there just so you see that that's kind of what it is. About might be your about.html and so on, but I'm not going to walk through all of that. It's not the point of this exercise. So you guys should kind of have that down at this stage. Then you've got your closing UL and your closing nav. inside there as well as a section. It's got an ID of Maine. Now, of course, you could have section with a class of Maine or a section with a class of cats. Whatever you want that to be, however you want that to be identified. And then, of course, you would be writing your code, your CSS, to stylize that Maine or whatever it's called in your CSS rules, right? Sidebar. That's another thing. Now the sidebar, we haven't talked. I kind of mentioned the list, definition lists and so on. But that's what this is here. So DL starts a definition list, what we call definition list. You've heard of the unordered list and list. This is definition. And then you have two separate tags inside of that. You have the title, DT, and that's this new vegetable sprayers. And then you also have the DD, which is what they call the definition. So in other words, how this is laid out, when you put in a DL and DT and DD and so on in there, it's just to help you with, this is going to automatically be bold, and then it's going to be indented. So it's a real nice process to use if you want to do something like this, where you're trying to put a title and then you want things indented inside that, so that you kind of get a really nice, cool layout there with your definition list. So that's kind of a default already. It's already stylized for you, so you don't have to go in and do any kind of finagling with padding and so on. And then there's a footer and so on at the end. All right, so what we're going to do, like I keep saying, is we're going to stylize this for mobile devices. And I'm just going to do, for this particular lesson, just the phone. So in other words, something that's 768 or below in size, so a maximum of 768. If you want to do, from the 768 to 900 or something, then you can, play with that and stylize it. And you would follow the same process that I'm going to follow here. Now, the only other thing that I want to do is, just because I've kind of put in here the menu bar so that you actually get that hamburger menu drop-down icon. So I have added that as well into this particular styling. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold here. But I'm going to have you, what I'm going to kind of do is have you rename this navigation bar, because a lot of that styling that I have going here is kind of attached with this different ID. So on the navigation menu, if you just go in right here under the nav, that's right around line 11, and put your cursor right after the V, hit your return or your space bar. And I want you to give it an ID equals, and then it's going to be in quotes, and it's going to be called page hyphen nav. All right. So nav ID equals page hyphen nav. Now, the other thing that I'm going to type in here, it'll take a little bit to type in here, but these are the input labels and so on that you'll need for to have that actual hamburger pop up. And that's going to go right before your opening UL. So right after that caret there for your navigation there, where we just put ID equals page nav, I want you to type this, and I'll give this to you too, so that you'll be able to just kind of copy and paste it in there. But it's left caret label space for FOR equals quote hamburger. So HAMBURGER. After the quote here, put a greater symbol. And then we need the ampersand. That's the one with, shift 7. That gives you the ampersand. Hashtag 9776. Semicolon. Left caret. Closing label. So label, space, 4 equals hamburger in quotes, ampersand, hashtag 9776. All right, the next line, and this will get easier as we go along here, I promise. But next line is left caret. We won't have as much typing. Well, when we get into the code, we will, but into our CSS, we will. But so it's going to be left caret input, space, type, equals, and then in quotes, checkbox, so CAGCKBOX, space, not after that, but after the checkbox quote there. So checkbox quote and then space, and then it's going to be ID equals, and in quotes, hamburger, quote, and then closure tag. All right, so input type equals checkbox ID equals hamburger. All right, all of the rest of this stays the same. We aren't going to do anything else with the code on this. We already have this, set up. We've got, the main thing is that I did write this with this page nav ID. And so on your files too, the ones that you're currently working on, you can very easily go in and just do this, copy and paste this code into your CSS if you just do it kind of the way I'm telling you here. So nav ID equals page nav, and that'll automatically set up your navigation bar to have a hamburger when it gets smaller, and have this drop down menu looking like this. Now there are a lot of we got to finish our code here because we got our little hamburger showing up there now and so on. So that's changing our navigation here because a lot of the CSS we don't have written for this yet. So that's why that ended up like it is up there. Don't worry about it. It'll look fine when we're done. All right, let's save that. Command S. And then we'll go ahead into our style sheet. And then this is where kind of the magic happens. So in our style sheet where I want you to, we have, your container set up at 960 pixels. That's going to change because what we need to start doing, as I've sent you in several emails, is that we need to be making sure that we're putting things in a percentage now so that it does cover, a lot of the area when you start closing down your window there. Your header is 80 pixels, background color is, what it is. It has that background image up here in your header, so on. Your header image, it has set up for that. It's got your DL and DT. That's the definition list that I was talking about. One of the things I want to add in here, if it's not here, so let's kind of go down here and look at some of this. So the nav background color looks good, and the width of that nav is 100%. So that's good. That's a good thing, and that's what we want, is to make sure that that navigation is 100%. Your footer, your background color looks good. The nav ULLI, we don't really need in this right now. It's a float left and so on, a list style type. isn't something that we kind of really need. We can just probably just take it out. And I'm going to add instead some other elements to this NavULLIA. So let's go ahead and delete the NavULLI. So just highlight that, go ahead and delete it. And you'll see now that it's kind of down like this. And that's okay, I think. But we'll, well, actually, let's put it back in. I'm gonna put it in, and then if I have to remove it later, I'll remove it. But yeah, so let's just leave it in there, and then I think I'm gonna remove it later, but I need to get my other floats in here and in order to be able to visualize that. So go ahead and do Command Z, put it back in. And for right now, let's just kind of leave it there. All right, the NavULLIA is your color, text, decoration, display block. You have your padding, your white space, and so on. Nav hover is what's, causing these colors here. Your NavUL margin is 0 pixels and padding 0 pixels. And then the sidebar is float right, 276 pixels. You have your background color. We also have the styles here for your main. I want to point out here that for the main right here, it's float left right now. Okay, float left. It has a width, a specific width of 600 pixels. And that's too because if you remember, the container has a specific width of 960 pixels. That's okay. However, we are going to change that. We're going to change the width so that when it's 768 and below, that this width is going to be 100%. That's the way we get it to be responsive. We're also going to take the float off of that. It's going to be float none. Because on your phone, you aren't going to be able to do this sidebar and this at the same time. We're going to have to move the sidebar down below the main. All right? All right, your next part here is your H1. That's fine. It just has a font size of large. And it's a good thing to kind of use some generic terms here so that we aren't, like large and medium and so on. For some of this, you could do M's. That would work out as well, which is kind of what I showed you in class. All right, let's look now at kind of adding some things here. So that's the end of this CSS rules that we currently have. So let's go to the end of the H1. Put your cursor right at the end there, hit your return key, and now we're going to start stylizing that nav. So let's do a hashtag. And again, I may have to go up and take out that list, but I don't know if there's going to be a conflict here or not. But we'll kind of see as we go ahead and put all of this inside here. All right, so this is going to be hashtag, and then page nav. Again, this will pop up here for you. And then you want to do your left and right curly brace, hit your return to open that up. We're going to give it a width. So remember, I talked about things are now going to be in percents. And we're going to say 100%, semicolon. And then another thing is that how when you scroll up, sometimes on some sites, that the navigation menu stays there. That's what we call a sticky bar. So we want to put the sticky in here too. That's just kind of a nice professional way of being able to kind of keep your menu bar available at all times so people don't have to keep scrolling all the way up to the top to get to it. So how you do that is just position. And remember, we're putting this specifically on our navigation bar. And we're going to say position is sticky, semicolon. And then for that as well, we'll give the top colon 0, semicolon. All right, that's it for that. And you'll see when you scroll up, see how that sticks? So as I scroll up here, boop, navigation stays. That's how you do the sticky nav. All right, next thing on here is going to be, and I'm going to put a forward slash here, asterisk. My asterisk disappeared. Oh, here. Trying to put, whoops, sorry guys, forward slash, asterisk. I'm trying to put a quote here. Or I don't mean a quote, but a comment here so that you can see what this is. So this specific code that we're going to put here is going to hide the hamburger. Okay? So that's what I'm just going to type in there. You can type it or not type it, but it'll give you kind of an idea as we move through here what everything is for. So on here, we're going to do that page nav again. So it's going to be hashtag page nav. And then a space and label and a comma. So this means any page nav with a label attached to it, which we have, right? And then we'll go ahead and hit a space and we'll say hashtag hamburger. All right. Now go ahead and do your curly braces. So that's page nav, label, and then your hashtag hamburger, curly braces. And then we're going to say for this one, it's going to be display, colon, none. So that's what's going to hide your hamburger. All right, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to put another comment here. So this is going to be menu items. So you can see what's controlling what. All right, for menu items, we'll start with the UL. So hit your return key. This is going to be hashtag page nav and then UL. So we're going to start with our unordered list. Do your left and right curly braces. Okay, we're going to say list style type is going to be none. So list hyphen style hyphen type colon none. Your margin for this is going to be 0. And your padding is going to be 0. All right, then we're going to do the page nav ULLI. Now you see that as we started styling this, now this is kind of popped back up there, starting to look like a menu bar again. We hid the hamburger, so that's not going to show up till we tell it to on small screens. All right, so the next thing in here is going to be our hashtag page hyphen nav. And this is going to be the ULLI. So UL, so unordered list and list. So anything in a list that's inside an unordered list that's inside the page nav. All right, curly braces. And then this is going to be display inline block. So display colon inline hyphen block semicolon. We're going to give it a padding of 5 pixels. And we're going to give it a box sizing border called border box. That's what's going to keep this inside of this box like this. So it's box hyphen sizing and then colon border box. All right, the next thing here is, let's see, we did that. So we got our link. So page nav ULLIA. And we're going to give it a color of white and a text decoration of none. So again, hashtag page nav. This is going to be UL space LI space A. Curly braces. Color, hashtag FFF, semicolon, text decoration, and the text decoration is going to be none, semicolon. All right, that's it for the navigation bar for now. So again, you know, we've got this is rolling over. It changes colors. You can set up your links as you want them. But I want to point out once again that as I take this and I fold it up, you see how it's not collapsing like it should. It's not giving us hamburger. It's not collapsing the rest of it. This is what we're going to do next. So this is how we're going to make this responsive. So at the end of that, I want you to hit, right after that cursor again, hit your return key. And this is going to be for small screens. So we're going to do this. I'll go ahead and put a comment here again so that everybody knows this is on small screens. So these are our media queries. All right. We have to start with the container. So right now the container is 960 pixels. Well, we need it to be a percent. So we're going to start with the container. We're going to do hashtag container. And then your left and right curly braces. And we're going to give it a width of, what did I just say? 100%, right? Semicolon. Now you see everything's floating everywhere because when this window's open all the way like this, this is what's going to happen. So what we have to do here is, what I want you to do is, after you say here the on small screens, your comment there, please put your cursor there, hit your return key, and let's add this media query. So we're going to say at media, and you're going to immediately see this screen collapse. So at media space screen space and space parentheses max hyphen width colon, and we're going to give it 768 so we can kind of close this window up and view the menu bar. So we're going to say 768 pixels. Do your parentheses. And that's it. Now, what I want you to do as well is we need to close this because we started this here. And then we have a curly brace, left curly brace I need you to put at the end here. But we need this right curly brace to be down underneath here. So that needs to be the very last thing, because all of this is going to be wrapped inside of this media query. So what I need you to do is go ahead and just highlight that, hit delete, and then down below your container down here, let's go ahead and put that right curly brace again. In fact, you could go in and give it a couple rows here so that you don't get confused. But you do need a left curly brace and a right curly brace to kind of make that happen. So what this is saying now is that when your window is 768 pixels, that container is going to remain at the width is going to be 100%. So if you have a phone that's, 500 pixels is your screen, the width is still going to be 100%. So it's going to fit on there perfectly. Now, if I close this up, you aren't going to see too much because all you're going to see is that background image is now squishing in, but all this is still, floating all the way around because this is the main and this is the navigation. So you don't even have your navigation. It's kind of floated down here and so on. So we have to fix all of these. And then you also have that image floating around up there. So all these things we've got to kind of put inside of this media query. So I need you to go into the next line. So right after your container and the right curly brace there for your container, hit return and we'll start putting in a few other things here. We're going to fix the header. So let's type in header, left curly brace. And I'm going to go a little bit faster here because I don't want a 2-hour video here. Everybody can kind of work at it at their own pace. So I'm going to put in here the width. If there's something I have to kind of stop and explain, I will. But width for this is going to be, again, 100%. So remember I said we've got to start doing these, thinking about things in percentage. And then what I want to do is take out the background image as well. Because on smaller screens, it doesn't really look good. And especially if you have a really, like a phone. You don't want that background sitting in there. So I'm going to say background image none, and then my semicolon. And now you'll see that when I close this up, the header is going to stay at 100%. And I'm going to save this too. I haven't been saving as I go along here. This closes up. And notice when you get to that 768, see this disappears, right? And now my header is 100%. All right, after the background header there, or after the header, I mean, now we're going to do the main. So that was hashtag main because it was section ID equals main. We do our left and right curly brace. And then I'm going to make this width, just because I want to give it a little bit of room around the outside of it. I'm going to say width for this, I'm going to give it 90%. And that'll just kind of give it a little bit of room around the outside. But here's what's important with this, is that what we want to make sure we do with this, remember that this was set up to float left, and this is set up to float right. Well, we have to take those floats off because we want to be able to just scroll through this, using your finger and just kind of scrolling. So I'm going to put in here float : none. Now, again, the idea of these media queries is that when you have when you're designing for responsive, is that you have to think about or go up there and kind of look at what you have on your main CSS before you did your, I'm scrolling up here to show you the header. So on our header, we had the height at 80 pixels. We had the width, no width set. And so, and then we had this background image in here. When we go down here to the main, all right, so for the main, you see here it's float left, and the width is 600 pixels. Well, we don't want that anymore. We need to take that off of there. So we need to say, that the width is actually 100%. We need to take the float off of there. It's going to be all over the place. All right, so that's why I put that. Oh, sorry, stopped. Saw a problem here. It's a good thing about those red lines, right? That you can stop and go, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? All right, so here we go. So I did the width at 90% instead and then float none. And now if I close this up, you'll see that there it goes. It collapses. See, this is the main. And see how this is collapsing according to the window. So however small I get in the window, it continues to collapse. Well, the sidebar is still, somewhere down around here, but we'll fix that in 1 second so that we can view that. Sidebar's floating out over here to the right because we have to take that float off of that as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that next, I think. So we'll do the sidebar next, and we're going to put on there float none, and then we'll also give the sidebar kind of a background color there. And we don't want to give it a percentage. We'll kind of leave it at the width it is, and then we'll kind of see how that looks. So, I guess it's a matter of taste when you get it in here. Depends on what you want it to look like. But let's do sidebar, and then do your left and right curly braces. Then we're going to do background color white. All right. And then we'll go ahead and take that float off again. So we want to say float, colon, none. All right, perfect. Save it. And then let's close our window, see what we got. Jumps down there. Let's see what we got down here. There you go. Now, we could give this a percent if we wanted it to be smaller. And we can close these up. That's actually in the space here. That's actually sitting, I found it in your HTML documents in the source code over there. So that's something that, as you see things like this, then, you're working on this and you go, oh, shoot, how come this is wherever it is? Well, you need to kind of hunt for it. It might be that you have to put padding, take padding off somewhere or something. And again, you would put that in your media query. Don't go messing up your main document now. So all this, again, is going underneath this media query, which is telling it at a screen size with a maximum width of 768. All right, after the sidebar, let's go ahead and put now some code for this hamburger to get this to show. So I'm going to go ahead and do a comment again here. Whoops, I always hit that. So we're going to say show hamburger is going to be the comment. All right. And then this is what we're going to do. So we want to target the label now. So this is going to be hashtag page nav space label. All right. Left and right curly brace. All right, and here we're going to do a display. And this time it'll be an inline block. We're going to give it a color. And this is now, again, the hamburger we're doing. Okay, so we're going to give it a color of white. So color, and you write that just like your font. This is considered the font, okay? Whoops, so give it white. All right, then we want the background, and actually I don't think we need background on it at all. So let's just do font style. And we're kind of see how the background looks, but font hyphen style, colon, going to make that normal, semicolon. Then we'll do a font size, colon. This is going to be 1.2 M, semicolon, and we'll do a padding, colon, 6 pixels, semicolon, and that's it for your label. Now, if I close this up, let's save, and I'll come back to this in 1 second, but if I close this window, you'll see there it is. Now it's opening up, but it's not really functioning, so it's just kind of bringing up that home. All right. And that's where that whole list thing comes in that I think I'm going to have to go in and take out. But let's go down here anyway. The next part here that I want to do is your page nav, and we're going to give it a width of 30 pixels and a height of auto. It looks like my code's broken on my sheet here, so I'm not sure this is right either, but we may have to go back in and fix this as well. That page nav, and we'll do left and right carets. Hit return. We're going to do width at 30. I'm assuming pixels, but I'm afraid I deleted that part of the code. And then we'll do height, colon, auto, semicolon. All right, let's save that. All right, the next thing on here is going to be, we're going to break down these items so that they're actually vertical. And so we're going to, in here, say hashtag again. And page nav. Then we'll do UL. Space, LI, left and right curly brace. Open that up with your return key. We're going to say display, colon, block, semicolon. And then we want to say float none, because on that other part there we had float left, semicolon. And I'm going to close this window up just so I can see it kind of happening here. And I have a feeling this is that 30 pixels, so don't you guys do this. I'm going to take this out 1 second here. There we go. So guys, if you would go up to the page, it's up at line 150 there, where I said that seemed a little confusing to me, that why that I had that kind of this broken tag here. So take out your page nav, under that page nav, and take out that whatever it was I just took out, the width, right? Because that width is causing this to look like this. All right. So now it's starting to look okay. Pretty good, right? All right, we still have a little bit of work to do here. So after your page, nav ULLI, display block float none, we're going to do page nav ULLIA. So just kind of like how we did with the whole navigation bar to begin with, we just renamed this ID equals page nav. So that's why we're applying this to it. So page nav, and then what did I say? UL space LI space A, right? Left and right carets. And we're just going to give it a font size of medium. So that's going to just kind of help with when you do have a smaller window, somebody has a, a really old phone and their screen is, some 300 pixels or something, then, you want to make sure that you're still covering those old fogies that haven't updated their phones. All right, page nav ULLIA. And then after that, go ahead and hit again your return. Let's do a couple more. Let's put in a comment here. This is going to be the toggle, show hide, and a checkbox there. All right, and so this is going to be hashtag page nav. And it's going to go on the unordered list. So page nav space UL, left and right curly braces. And then we have display, colon, none. See how it hit it? Just like that, poof. So you guys close up your window now if you haven't already, close that up so you can see the magic happening before your eyes. All right, lastly here is going to be the page nav input checked. So we just want to make sure that it turns on when we click on it and turns off when we click on it. So we're going to do again hashtag page nav. And then a space. And remember we did that input up there in your HTML page. I had you type that in there. So input, colon, checked. And then what we want is our, I just forgot the name of this. Well, whatever, that it's, I can't think of the name all of a sudden. It's, if you hold down your shift key and then it's right below your escape key there on the Mac, it's that curly wavy thing. Can't remember the name. Anyway, UL, and then your left and right curly brace, hit return, and then display, colon, block, semicolon. Make sure at the end of this that you have two right curly braces, okay? So one is closing up the actual media query. This one closes your last CSS rule. This one closes your media query. So make sure that you have that at the end. It should look like this. All right, and that's it. We just created our first media query for this page. I'm going to save my style sheet. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, show you that here it is on full screen. If somebody views it on full screen, recall that the container on full screen, you had it set at 960 pixels. And then as you close this up, we have the media query starting at 768. So when I close this up and my window gets to 768, you'll see that poof, pops right in. See how this hamburger pops in over there, right? And then when I click on the hamburger, there we go, drop down. Now you can stylize your drop down any way you want to stylize it. I want to show you too the sticky works. So as I scroll up here, see how your sticky works and your navigation will stay up there. If somebody clicks on this to close it, then it'll close up and your sticky will still be there. So you can scroll up. Very cool. All right. Don't tell me I never gave you nothing. There you go. That ends my lesson for today. please go through and review this and walk through it. And then we'll walk through it one more time on Tuesday. So when I get there, we'll go through it not as slow as what I just did. We'll kind of breeze through it because I'm going to be assuming that you guys have watched this video and walked through it. And we'll just be doing review. All right, that's it. Thanks, guys, for listening. Any questions, just send me an email.